Hi guys, in this video we are going to learn how to create a DHCP server on Cisco Packet Tracer and how to assign these IP addresses from that DHCP server, what is a DNS server, what is an HTTP server, and how we can practice this on Cisco Packet Tracer, right? So we will create all these servers and we will create a small network, and then we will get those IP addresses assigned from DHCP server, and then we can also configure the DNS server, and we will also configure the HTTP server, and then we will access that HTTP server from a client on the PC, and then we will try to practice that all in this lab. Okay, so stay tuned. It's going to be a little bit longer video, so I hope once you will watch till the end, you will have a better understanding of how these all work together, right? So I'm just going to create a network of 10 PCs just for little bit practice, and we can see all those IP addresses being assigned and everything, in this lab from DHCP server. So because DHCP server, the function of DHCP server is mainly to create those, IP addresses to be assigned from the, you don't have to manually create those IP addresses, and these can be assigned from the DHCP server automatically. Okay, so this is, let's say, this is our lab, and we have 10 computers in our lab, right? Okay, so the next thing is we need to connect these computers together, and for that purpose, I need to get a switch. So let's say there is our switch, and I'm going to connect all of them together. Okay, so just assume this is our lab. You're in a lab or in a building or somewhere. You have to connect all these computers together through a switch, and right, and I'm going to get a server here. This is going to be our DHCP and DNS server as well. So we're going to run both services on the same server. Okay, so this is going to be our DHCP and DNS server, right? Okay, and there is going to be a second server, which is going to be our HTTP server, HTTP server, right? So we're going to run an HTTP service on this computer, on this server, and we're also going to create a default gateway for this network. So this is our router, which is going to be our default gateway, and we need to connect our switch to this our default gateway, right? So let's say we have a network, assigned network in our lab 192.168.10.0/24. This is our network number, right? And let's say we have DHCP, and DNS server IP address as 192.168.10.1. So this is going to be our DHCP and DNS server IP address. We can write here 192.168.10.1. Okay, and let's say our web server IP address is 192.168.10. Let's say it is 5, right? And our default gateway IP address is 192.168.10.1. Sorry, 1 is there, so 2, right? Okay, this is our default gateway. And the range of IP addresses we're going to assign, let's say we have 50 pieces or 100 pieces in our lab. So we're going to assign a range for that 192.168.10. So let's say we start from 20 and till 70, 50 pieces, 192.168.10. It's going to be 69 if we choose 50 computers in our lab, right? So that's going to be the range of our computer IP addresses which are going to be assigned in this lab, right? And we also need to connect these our servers here to the switch. Okay, so now all the connectivity is completed. So first thing first we need to do is configure this manually on our DHCP server and DNS server IP address on this server. So we're going to go into that and then desktop and IP configuration. So this is going to be static configuration, right? 192.168.10.1. This is going to be our subnet mask and the default gateway is 10.2. 192.168.10.2 and the DNS server is the same 192.168.10.1. Okay, so that is the only configuration you need to configure for this server, and then you need to go to the services. Okay, so we are related on this server. We are going to configure DHCP and DNS servers. So here we go into the DHCP, and this is a pool which is already there. So we're going to configure the default gateway here as 192.168.10.2. This is what we said our default gateway in the network is going to be here. Okay, and the start IP address in this case we are going to say is going to be 10.20. We're going to start from 20. Subnet mask is this, and total number of PCs we set is going to be 50 in our lab, right? So DNS server is also, as we said, is going to be 192.168.10.1. It's on the same server. We're going to configure the DNS service, right? So let's save this. So now our pool is configured. We have configured default gateway, DNS server, and the range of and how many usable IP addresses which are going to be assigned from this network to different computers. So that's all done. Settings are okay. So our settings are completed now. So we're going to switch this DHCP service on, and then we're just going to close it. And then now we're going back to computers and going to configure DHCP. So if you hit DHCP, here we go. So it obtain an IP address from the range of this IP address is assigned. So you see, you don't have to manually configure all these settings on the computers. It just automatically will pick up the IP address from the default gateway and also from the DHCP server, right? Okay, so I'm going to close that and let's go into that second computer. Similar thing, we're just going to stop it static and hit the DHCP and it's obtained the second IP address. So similarly, we need to turn it on all of the computers and they will got IP address from the DHCP server. Okay, let's hit on all of them. So, okay, so that's done. And desktop IP configuration DHCP. So you see how quick it is, and we don't have to manually configure all these IP addresses in these computers in our lab. We just really select DHCP, and then all the settings will be configured. Okay, and let's go into that. So I'm just going to quickly finish this and then I'm going to configure the DNS and HTTP as well, right? Okay. So this is a desktop HTTP and the last one DHCP. Okay. So now our all computers have obtained IP addresses from the DHCP servers. And this is our HTTP server. So because we want to configure this statically, it can also obtain an IP address from the DHCP server, but it's better to have them assign the static IP addresses to these servers, so you don't need to change it or something. So let's say we have IP address for this is 192.168.10.5, right? Subnet mask and the default key in our network is 192.168.10.2. and the DNS server is 192.168.10.1. Okay, so that's done. Let's go into services. So we are interested in HTTP service, right? So here we have one HTTP service on this, where is acting as a HTTP server, and just some some files which are already built in into that, and we can access those services from a computer. Once we open or browse to this server, we will be able to see all these files in that server. We can also create those new files in the server if you're interested to create some, or import some files into this server. And we're not going to go into that. We're just really going to use these default, some built-in files into that. Okay, so our HTTP service is on. So if we go to, let's say, computer one and try to go to web browser, we haven't configured the DNS server yet. So I'm just gonna browse to the IP address, because the function of DNS server is basically it will resolve the name of the server against its IP address. So we will configure the DNS service later, but let me show you first how it works if we have not configured the DNS server yet. So if I hit HTTP 192.168.10.5, so here we go. So we got that web page, on this server which we have configured. So you can go into that. So it's just really for the practice purpose. You can modify this on the web server here. So so this is that. Now, because the function of DNS server is to resolve that name to the IP address, because we cannot remember the IP addresses of all these servers. So that's why this is the DNS functionality comes into play. So we go into DNS on the server, and we're going to create a name. Let's say if we call this www.cisco.com, okay, or abclab.com, okay. And the address, we know that this website is hosted on 192.168.10.5, right? So we just add that into our records. Okay, so what now, if we go to, so far we have configured this DHCP server, DNS server. We have configured an entry for this HTTP server into the DNS server. And now, as a final test, we are going to access this website on this our HTTP server. So I'm going to go into the browser, web browser. I'm just going to try to browse that DNS entry that we created into the DNS server. So let's wait for this to come up. Okay. Right, so we have created an entry www.cisco. Oh, there we go. So as you can see, we didn't type an IP address now. We just typed the website address, and now we can access the same server. So how it worked is a DNS request was sent from this computer to the DNS server, and the DNS server found a record for that website of IP address, and it sent that IP address back to that computer, and then a computer created another packet and sent it to the server. So how this DNS resolution work? So just to summarize, in this lab we created a DHCP server, and then we also created a DNS server. We assigned IP addresses and gateway IP address from this DHCP server to the computers. And we also created a HTTP server, and we try to access from this different computer. So let's say if we want to access the same website from a different computer, and if you see the IP address is .24 in this, which has been assigned from DHCP server. So if I go to the web browser on this computer and try to access that website from this computer and see if we can access. Okay, let's type it now, www.cisco.com. So here we go. So we can access our web page. So I hope you guys learned something new in this video, and it was easy to understand how we configure DHCP DNS and HTTP server on Cisco Packet Tracer. If you like my video, please hit the like button and subscribe my channel. It's a beginning channel. I'll be creating more videos for better understanding of Cisco networking or in the packet tracer, how we can create more different kind of labs and everything. Okay, thank you. Bye.